Have you ever realized that the harder you try to explain yourself, the more your words get twisted? That standing up for truth, justice, or respect can end up making you seem desperate, while the ones truly at fault walk away untouched. But what if I told you this? The moment you stop reacting, stop chasing, and stop explaining, that's when karma begins to move on your behalf. It's like a snake that bites its own tail. The more it fights, the deeper the wound gets. But when it stops resisting, nature takes over, and healing starts. Or picture an echo in the mountains. What you put out into the world always finds its way back to you. That's the essence of karma. The lies they spread, the pain they cause, all of it circles back to them eventually. Because while they're busy deceiving, provoking, and manipulating, you've got a choice. Fall into their trap, or step aside and watch karma write the final chapter. And when you choose silence, that's when the full weight of their actions finally turns on them. That's when their own energy becomes their downfall. So when is the moment to step back and let karma do what words never could? Stick with me, because what's coming next just might flip your entire perspective. Let's get into it. Number 1. Let's begin with one of the most frustrating experiences: when someone lies about you. When rumors start to spread, it's only natural to want to fight back, clear your name, and make sure the truth is known. But here's the tough pill to swallow. The more you try to defend yourself from lies, the more drama you often create. Reacting gives life to the lie. The more you explain, the more people begin to question, even if they had no doubts before. Here's the reality. Not everyone cares about the truth. What they care about is the reaction. The one spreading lies isn't after honesty. They're after control. They want you shaken. They want you emotional. They want you in a back and forth where every move you make somehow gives their lie more power. And when you engage, you're stepping right into their game. That's where Stoic wisdom steps in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the standard you should live by. Others may deceive, others may lie, but their behavior doesn't define you. Your response does. Instead of wasting breath defending yourself against fiction, let time and truth do the work. Here's what people tend to forget. Lies come with an expiration date. But truth? Truth doesn't fade. Let me tell you a story. A man I know, we'll call him James, was falsely accused at work of something he never did. Rumors started to fly. People whispered. Some co-workers pulled away. His first instinct? To defend himself, to go from desk to desk explaining everything. But instead he chose silence. He focused on his work, remained professional, and let his actions do the talking. Weeks later, the truth surfaced. Turned out the person behind the rumors had a history of manipulation. James didn't need to prove anything. The truth exposed itself, and because he never fed into the drama, his reputation remained untouched. So how should you handle this? First, trust the long game. Lies might spread fast, but truth always stays. Second, stand firm in your integrity. When you know who you are, the opinions of those fooled by lies won't matter. And finally, let karma run its course. People who make a habit of lying end up exposing themselves over time. You don't have to chase them down. Life will catch up with them. At the end of the day, silence isn't weakness, it's power. When someone lies about you, don't stoop to their level. Stay calm, stay grounded, Stay patient, because when the truth finally shows itself, you'll still have your dignity. Number 2, let's talk about one of life's toughest lessons: betrayal. Whether it's a friend who turns their back, a partner who breaks your trust, or someone you once believed in who lets you down. Betrayal cuts deeper than most wounds. The immediate reaction: confrontation. You feel the urge to demand answers, to get an apology, to make them see the pain they've caused. But here's the raw truth: words won't change a betrayer's nature. If someone was able to betray you once, chances are they've already justified it in their own mind. They've convinced themselves that what they did was necessary, acceptable, or, even worse, your fault. No amount of reasoning will shift that mindset. Try to explain, and they'll twist your words. Try to make them feel guilty, and they'll flip the script, painting you as the problem. That's why silence, walking away without a word, becomes the loudest answer. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Betrayal hurts, yes, but it's also a trial, a test that sharpens you, strengthens your boundaries, and shows you exactly who deserves a place in your life. The pain you're feeling isn't just suffering, it's a lesson in self-respect, in detachment, in learning to release those who were never meant to stay. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, had a best friend for more than 10 years. They shared everything: secrets, struggles, successes. But one day, Sarah discovered that this friend had been betraying her behind her back, revealing private conversations, even sabotaging her opportunities. Her first reaction? Anger. She wanted to confront her, to force her to understand the damage done. But instead, Sarah chose silence. No arguments, no revenge. She simply walked away. No drama, no second chances. And here's what happened. The friend felt that silence. She was expecting a fight, an explosion, something dramatic. But what she got instead was pure indifference. And that silence, it spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. So how do you handle betrayal? First, accept the truth. Some people will never be who you believe they were. The pain comes from expectation. So release it. Second, don't waste your breath trying to explain their actions to them. Deep down, they already know. And finally, walk away with your dignity intact. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strength. Because real power lies in detachment. A betrayer feeds off your reaction, your guilt, your willingness to give them another shot. Don't offer that. Let your silence be the reminder that they didn't just lose a connection, they lost you. And you. You were never the one who lost. You were the one they never should have betrayed in the first place. Number 3. Let's face it, we all deal with insults at some point. Whether it's a subtle jab, a backhanded compliment, or a straight-up attack, insults all serve one purpose: to provoke a reaction. The second you respond, argue back, defend yourself, or even show that you're angry, you hand over your emotional control. Here's the truth: reacting to insults gives them power. When someone throws an insult, they're baiting you. They want to see you crack. They want proof that their words landed. But when you stay composed, calm, unshaken, indifferent, that's when you take back the power. Because nothing frustrates an insulter more than being completely ignored. This is where Stoic wisdom speaks volumes. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Think about that. The moment you stoop to their level, you've already given up your strength. If someone's being petty, disrespectful, or cruel, why give them the pleasure of watching you play their game? Instead, rise above. Choose silence, self-control, and inner dignity. Let me share a quick story. A man I know, let's call him David, was attending a work event. A co-worker, clearly bitter about David's recent promotion, took a shot at him in front of everyone. Wow, guess they'll promote just about anyone these days. The room went still. Everyone expected David to clap back, but David didn't flinch. He just smiled, made eye contact, and said nothing. No comeback, no anger, no defense. And what happened? That co-worker? He looked awkward, uncomfortable. He had counted on a reaction, something to validate his insult. But instead, David held his power. So how should you handle insults? First, realize that insults usually reveal more about the person saying them than they do about you. Most of the time, they are projecting their own insecurity. Second, remember that your silence is a form of strength. By staying calm, you prove their words mean nothing. And finally, walk with confidence. When you carry yourself with quiet certainty, the insulter is left with nothing. At the end of the day, you can't control what people say, but you can always control how you respond. And sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. Because silence, that's the clearest proof that their words don't define you. You do. Number 4. Now let's dive into one of the most frustrating and manipulative behaviors. When someone plays the victim. You've probably seen it before. People who twist stories, leave out the truth, and suddenly paint themselves as the ones who were hurt. It doesn't matter what really happened. All they care about is gaining sympathy, shifting the blame, and convincing others that you're the problem. And the more you try to explain your side, the worse you look. Here's the truth. Some people don't want resolution. They want attention. They don't care about honesty. They don't care about fairness. Their only goal, controlling the narrative. And if you step into that drama, if you argue, explain, or try to prove yourself, you're giving them exactly what they want. This is where Stoic wisdom comes into play. Epictetus once said, "To complain is always non-productive and never appropriate." That line couldn't be more fitting. People who play the victim don't want solutions. They want an audience. So let karma expose the manipulation. Because truth, it always finds its way out. Maybe not today. Maybe not even tomorrow. But over time, patterns reveal themselves. People begin to notice the same behavior again and again. And eventually, the act falls apart. Let me tell you a quick story. There's a woman I know. We'll call her Rachel. She had a co-worker who constantly played the victim card. Anytime she was called out or questioned, she'd flip the script. "I can't believe you'd accuse me of that," she'd say. "I would never hurt anyone." She'd cry in front of the right people and spin the story just enough to make Rachel look like the villain. At first, Rachel tried to defend herself. She brought facts, proof. She even tried to reason with her. But the more she explained, the more it fueled the drama. So Rachel made a choice. Silence. No more defending. No more explaining. No more reacting. And sure enough, time did its job. Others began to notice. That same coworker played the victim one too many times. And suddenly no one believed her anymore. The manipulation that once worked became obvious. And eventually, her credibility gone. So how do you deal with people like this? First, don't argue. The more you try to prove your innocence, the deeper you fall into their trap. Second, stay calm and detached. Let their behavior reveal the truth. And finally, trust karma. People who constantly twist reality eventually expose themselves. At the end of the day, silence is your power. Let them talk, let them spin, let them perform. Because the truth doesn't need a defense. Time will take care of that for you. Number 5. Let's talk about one of the most painful truths in life: being ignored or undervalued. It happens in relationships, friendships, and even at work. You give your time, your effort, your loyalty. You show up for people. But instead of appreciation, you get silence. Instead of respect, you get overlooked. And your instinct? To fight harder. To prove your worth. To make them see what you bring to the table. But here's the harsh truth. Fighting for recognition only makes you seem less valuable. The more you chase, the more they pull away. The more you try to be seen, the more invisible you become. Because people rarely treasure what they think will always be there. And that's exactly why your silence becomes your power. When you stop trying to convince them, when you stop showing up for people who never show up for you, they start to feel the emptiness of what they took for granted. This is where Stoic wisdom steps in. Seneca once said, "Time discovers truth." And that truth doesn't need to be shouted. It doesn't need to be argued. It reveals itself through absence. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Jake, was always the dependable one. The friend who checked in, the coworker who stepped up. He gave, he supported, he cared. But over time, he noticed a pattern. If he didn't reach out, no one did. If he didn't make the first move, the connection faded. That's when he realized he wasn't being valued, he was just being used. So Jake made a quiet decision. No angry text, no dramatic goodbye, just silence. He stopped showing up for people who wouldn't do the same. And guess what happened? The real ones, they reached out. The ones who only saw him as a backup plan, they vanished. And that was the clarity he needed. So how do you deal with being undervalued? First, stop trying to explain your worth. Your value doesn't drop just because someone refuses to see it. Second, take a step back. The right people won't need constant reminders to appreciate you. And finally, let time speak for you. Walk away in silence and let your absence be felt. Because here's the truth. If someone can't value you when they have you, let them learn what it feels like when they don't. At the end of the day, you don't need to beg for recognition. You just need to stand in your worth. And sometimes, the greatest lesson you can teach someone is to lose access to you. Number 6, when they try to provoke you. Let's talk about one of the highest forms of power. Not reacting when someone tries to provoke you. There will always be people out there who thrive on conflict. They poke, they produce, they say things just to get under your skin. And the moment you react with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, you hand them what they wanted most: control over your emotions. Here's the truth. People who constantly stir the pot aren't looking for peace. They're not trying to fix anything. They want a reaction. They want to pull you into their chaos, because that chaos makes them feel powerful. But when you don't engage, when you stay calm, composed, and completely unaffected, you take that power away from them. That silence, that calmness, that's your strength. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You can't control what others say. You can't stop someone from trying to provoke you. But what you can control is how you respond. And when you master that, you become untouchable. Let me tell you a story. There's a guy I know. Let's call him Adam. He had a coworker who made it a mission to get a rise out of him. Every meeting, every conversation, subtle jabs, sarcasm, little digs. At first, Adam would respond. He'd defend himself, try to explain, even get frustrated. But none of that helped. In fact, it just made things worse. So one day, he decided to change the game. The next time the coworker threw a jab, Adam didn't argue. He didn't flinch. He just gave a slight smile, nodded, and moved on. No emotion, no reaction. And guess what happened? That coworker, he couldn't handle it. No fuel for the fire, no emotional payoff. Eventually, he stopped trying, because power only exists if you give it to them. So how do you deal with people who try to provoke you? First, recognize what they're doing. This isn't random, it's a pattern, a game. Second, stay grounded. Your calmness will frustrate them far more than your words ever could. And finally, remember this. Real strength is not in reacting. Real strength is in remaining unfazed. At the end of the day, the strongest person isn't the one who fights every battle. It's the one who knows which battles are just traps and walks away anyway. When you ignore those who crave your reaction, you deny them the drama they're desperate for. And that's real power. Number 7, when they regret losing you. Let's talk about one of the most powerful realities in life, walking away and letting someone feel the weight of their own choices. When someone mistreats you, takes you for granted, or fails to appreciate your presence, there comes a time when the tables turn, when the silence you leave behind becomes louder than any words you could have said. And by then, it's already too late. Here's the truth. If someone truly valued you, they would have made sure they never had to regret losing you. But people don't always see your worth when you're there, when you're giving, when you're showing up, when you're consistent. They get used to your loyalty. They get comfortable. They assume you'll always stay. But when you finally walk away, no warnings, no second chances, that silence becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, they see every mistake, every selfish decision, every missed opportunity. That's when regret creeps in. And here's the key. You don't have to say a word. Let them sit with the emptiness. Let them feel the absence of the very thing they took for granted. This is where Stoic wisdom hits hard. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That means real power isn't in controlling others. It's in controlling yourself. It's in having the discipline to walk away from what doesn't serve you, and the strength to never look back. Because chasing, that's not strength. Explaining your worth over and over, that's not freedom. Real power is in silence, in knowing that your value doesn't need to be proven to anyone who failed to see it. Let me tell you a story. There's a woman I know. Let's call her Olivia. She was in a long-term relationship where she gave everything. Her time, her love, her energy. But her partner, he took it all and gave nothing back. He assumed she'd always be there. He never said thank you, never matched her effort, never saw the quiet way she carried the relationship. Until one day, she stopped. No warning, no dramatic exit. She just left. No text, no call, no begging him to change. Just silence. And suddenly the man who thought she'd never walk away was drowning in regret. He started texting, calling, promising change. But she didn't respond. Because she had already learned, if someone only realizes your worth when you're gone, they never truly deserved you in the first place. So how do you handle it when someone regrets losing you? First, don't respond. Let your silence be the consequence of their actions. Second, don't seek closure from someone who didn't value you. They gave you all the answers through their behavior. And finally, walk away with peace. Not anger, not revenge, just peace. Because the ones who truly matter will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. At the end of the day, the most powerful thing you can do is disappear from the lives of those who treated you like you were replaceable, and watch how irreplaceable you become. And there you have it. The power of silence, the strength of Stoic wisdom, and the clarity that comes from letting time reveal the truth. Remember, you don't need to fight every battle, explain every misinterpretation, or beg for the respect you deserve. Your peace, your silence, and your actions speak louder than any words ever could. When people lie, betray, insult, manipulate, or take you for granted, let them. Because in the end, you control how you respond. And sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. So the next time life tests you with these challenges, when someone tries to provoke you, plays the victim, or regrets losing you, stay grounded, stay silent, let time, karma, and your inner strength handle what words never could. And remember, you define your worth, no one else. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And leave a comment. Let me know how you've used silence and Stoic strength in your own life. Your journey to peace and power starts with one decision: to stop reacting and start living your truth. Until next time, stay strong, stay silent, and always remember, your silence will always speak louder than their noise.